The smell of burnt coffee lingered in the break room. It was 7:48 a.m., and I was already 12 minutes behind on my routine. My heels clicked down the hallway like a metronome for the lies in this building. 6th floor, finance division, chrome elevator, doors, reflections I no longer trusted. Morning, Maya, chirped Amber from HR, her lips glossy and her tone performative. She was wearing red again. She always wore red when she needed to be noticed. I nodded back without stopping, without smiling. Red never used to bother me, until I found it on his sheets, inside my office. The familiar echo of spreadsheets and silence wrapped around me. I sank into the leather chair, pulled my Moleskine journal from the drawer, and wrote, Thursday, March 9th to 141 days since I was promised promotion. Coffee. Burnt. Mood. Observational. Eric's tie is green. He's lying today. Eric, my boss, Harvard educated. Tie always a little too tight. Smiles like he's listening, interrupts like he's not. He'd called me the brain of the operation once. I remember that day. He bought me coffee. I kept the cup sleeve. It's still in the bottom drawer, stained. Like everything else. At 8:17 a.m., he appeared. No knock. Just that confident lean on the glass door frame. You seem off lately. That sentence. It would echo for weeks. Not tired, not overworked, not burned out, off, like I was a switch. I smiled with the corner of my mouth just enough to not invite further interest. Guess I forgot how to blend in. He laughed. The kind of laugh that's meant to imply intimacy. The kind of laugh Amber had started to echo lately. He dropped a file on my desk. I didn't flinch. Need these numbers cleaned by Yad. Big board meeting tomorrow. You're the only one I trust with it. Another one-liner for my journal. Trust equals code for unpaid labor. When he left, I stared at the folder. Inside, incomplete projections, flawed logic, and a note in Amber handwriting. She always loops her Y's like a heart. I wanted to rip the page in half. Instead, I opened Excel. Work first. Rage later. At noon, I skipped lunch. Again. Instead, I sat across from the mirrored wall in the restroom. I stared at my reflection. Not for vanity, for proof. I looked for cracks. Signs that maybe I was slipping. Nothing. Just eyeliner and exhaustion. Then the door creaked open, and two voices slipped in. Amber. And someone I didn't recognize. She's so sensitive. Like crying over feedback? That's not leadership material. Well, Eric said she's great with data. Just not people. My throat tightened. Not from shame but from recognition. They weren't talking about some girl in another team. They were talking about me. Besides, Amber laughed. She'd never leave. This place is her personality. I walked out of the stall slowly, deliberately. Red lipstick, buttoned blazer, calm face. You're right, I said, voice silk over steel. But I'm excellent with exits and numbers, especially your quarterly reviews. The silence that followed was sharp enough to draw blood. I smiled, not because I was okay but because they weren't. At 5:41 p.m., the office began to empty, but I stayed. I always stayed. The sound of the cleaner's cart rattling down the hallway was my evening hymn. I opened my journal again. Eric's board files completed. Amber performance flagged. Observation. Power moves happen in silence. I flipped back to older entries. December 14th when Eric skipped my review. January 2nd the first time Amber accidentally deleted my name from the team credits. February 6th my pay was docked for attitude concerns. But here's the thing. I never raised my voice. Not once. The mirror in the hallway caught my reflection as I left. This time, I looked longer and whispered, You're not crazy. You're recording. The elevator doors open, chrome and steel. I stepped inside, pulled out my phone, and took a photo of my face in the mirrored panel. It would be the first slide in the evidence deck I'd build, silently, elegantly. ruthlessly. Tomorrow? Eric would smile again. Tomorrow, Amber would wear red. And tomorrow, I'd reply with one of my favorite lines. Noted, Scene 2. The betrayal. She's just not stable enough. There's a silence that comes after betrayal. Not the loud kind, not the screaming, plate-breaking chaos the movies show. No, this one is colder. Still, it's the kind that creeps in under your skin and makes even the humming of a printer feel cruel. Monday began with fake cheer, bagels in the break room, Eric cracking jokes by the espresso machine, his hand grazing Amber's lower back like it had a right to be there. He looked at me, then looked through me. Hey superstar, he said. Join us. You could use a smile. I held my coffee tighter, the ring of steam fogging my glasses. I didn't smile. Instead, I turned and walked back to my office. There was a new envelope on my desk. No name, no email trail, just crisp white, heavy paper, printed like a law firm invitation. I opened it. Your recent performance has raised concerns among senior leadership. Several colleagues have observed emotional outbursts, resistance to feedback, and a pattern of behavior inconsistent with company leadership standards. Effective immediately. Your salary is adjusted to reflect your current designation. I stared at the words, not cried, not panicked, not screamed, just stared. Emotional outbursts. You mean that one time I exhaled sharply when Amber deleted my line from the budget sheet? Resistance to feedback. You mean when I corrected a decimal Amber miscalculated? Inconsistent with leadership. You mean I stopped laughing at Eric's to end grade finance jokes? I stood up. My hands trembled, but I was not afraid, just insulted. Is this a mistake? I asked, walking into Eric's office without knocking. He looked up from his laptop like I had interrupted a TED Talk. Amber sat beside him, crossed legs, smirking behind a company mug. Maya, he said slowly, like I was a misbehaving intern. You've been difficult lately, not yourself. You seem unstable. Unstable. There it was. The word designed to dismiss a woman's entire history in a single breath. No number of balanced spreadsheets or 3M forecasts could undo that word once spoken. I'm not unstable. I'm exhausted. There's a difference. Amber stood up. She moved closer to the window, like she couldn't bear to be in the same air. We care about you, she said softly, like a villain trying to sound like a mother. But we need you to take a step back. Maybe talk to someone. I do, I replied. Her name is Journal. She has more receipts than both of you combined. Eric's jaw tensed. His eyes darted toward Amber, then the open hallway. Let's be professional here. Docking. Pay without a performance meeting isn't professional, Eric. It's retaliatory. He stood, suddenly taller than he'd ever seemed. You're walking a line, Maya. Don't cross it. And that's when I knew. He wasn't just doing this because I was difficult. He was doing this because I was dangerous, because I knew too much, because I had watched, remembered, and written it all down, because Amber wasn't just HR, she was his HR. I walked out, slower than I walked in. Every step was measured, every breath deliberate. Back in my office, I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out the folder. The red binder, my silent therapist. Inside, copies of emails, including the one where Eric forgot to CC me on our own presentation deck, photos of whiteboard strategy sessions with my name conveniently cropped out when shared, Slack messages where Amber posted my forecast as hers timestamped, 3 separate calendar invites I sent for one-to-one review meetings, all declined, and at the very top, my salary slip. Pre and post emotional instability that night. I didn't go home. I went to the cafe across the street, the one with dim lighting and booth seating. I ordered black coffee, no sugar. I pulled out the journal. I wrote one sentence. He weaponized HR to make me small, but I built a goddamn arsenal. The barista looked at me weird when I ordered a second espresso at 10:43 p.m. Working late? She asked. No. I smiled. I'm just getting started. By midnight, I had everything in a single Google Drive folder, password protected, titled, "You Said I Was Emotional Exhibit A." It felt sacred, like justice in pixel form. The next morning, I arrived early, 6:55 a.m. The hallway smelled like floor polish and artificial lemon. I stood in front of the elevator, watching my reflection form, the same face, the same blazer, but something had changed behind my eyes. Eric walked in at 8:12 a.m. morning. Superstar. I smiled this time. You're right, Eric. I have been off lately. He raised an eyebrow, paused. Glad to see you taking feedback well. Oh, I'm documenting it excellently. He chuckled, but he didn't know that every word, every smirk, every file he altered was already a paragraph in my quiet manifesto. Later that week, Amber hosted a Women in Leadership panel. I was asked to introduce her. I did. Amber has been a cornerstone of our HR strategy. She champions fairness, transparency, and occasionally reuses other people's budget models without citation. She turned pale. The room didn't laugh. It froze. Kidding? I smiled. Kind of. Then I walked off stage, my heels echoing, louder than applause. Back in my office, I wrote, "They want silence. I'll give them stillness. Until the storm." 3 weeks passed. No meetings. No compliments. No eye contact. My name became a whisper, a checkbox, a liability. I walked the same halls, printed the same reports, but I was no longer in the room. They were erasing me in real time, and I let them, because silence, when chosen, is not submission, it's strategy. Every day at 5:30 p.m., I stayed behind. I opened the red binder, updated the drive, and recorded one video, just audio, just my voice. Tuesday, April 11th. Amber said she needed to borrow my notes on the Q1 gap analysis. She used them in her Friday email. Eric praised her for the sharp insights. Time stamped at 10:41 a.m. Each log was a letter to the future me, the one who would be sitting across from lawyers. Calm, clean, clinical. I started dressing in neutrals, grays, off-whites, soft, camel. Amber noticed. You've gone beige lately, she said with a plastic grin, trying not to distract from my instability. I replied, sipping my burnt coffee. That cup had become a symbol, same calf, same bitterness. But I never replaced it. Like trauma, I carried it until I didn't need to anymore. I started planting seeds, a Slack message to finance. Noticed a discrepancy in payroll for my department, would love clarification. A casual chat with legal during lunch. Curious. What defines a hostile work environment? Asking for a hypothetical friend. A LinkedIn post about emotionally intelligent leadership tagged no one, but everyone saw it. My inbox lit up. 3 ex-employees messaged. I left for the same reason. Eric did this to me too. You're braver than I ever was. I began tracking patterns, every eye roll, every deflected credit, every skipped invite. I organized them by category. Dismissal. Let's circle back. Maya. Stay quiet for now. Discredit. She's great with spreadsheets but not the big picture. Deflection. Must be stress. She's been working hard, maybe too hard. Gaslight. Undermine. Smear. Then blame the reaction. Classic. But they didn't know I'd started therapy, real therapy. Dr. Lang was sharp, gray-haired, wore tweed like armor. You're not broken, Maya, he said in our second session. You're being systemically dismantled and still standing. That's resilience. I told him about the binder, the journal, the hours spent watching elevator reflections instead of people. You've turned observation into survival, he said. Now turn it into fire. That night, I bought new heels, thinner, sharper. Snake-pattern.it was petty. Symbolic.it felt perfect. One day, Amber left a coffee on my desk. No note. I stared at it for 10 minutes before dropping it in the trash. She thinks I'm still drinking trust, I wrote. Later, I caught Eric and her in the glass conference room, laughing, whispering, her hand on his. I took a photo, not for scandal, but for symmetry. Two people who tried to collapse a woman from the inside out and didn't know she was already blueprinting their undoing. On a Wednesday, I emailed IT. Hey, can I get audit logs for my last 6 months of document edits? Just doing a security sweep. They obliged. No questions. I compared timestamps. My original file upload. Amber new deck. Eric's submission. All identical. All traceable. All mine. I printed it, highlighted, annotated, and titled it The Quiet Theft Index. At the board preview meeting, I wasn't invited, but I was accidentally sent the call link. I didn't join. Instead, I sent an email with subject line, minor data integrity concern flagging before it spreads, attached, proof that the quarterly projections Amber and Eric were pitching were inflated by 11% due to incorrect market segmentation I'd already corrected. Twice, I copied legal, blind copied myself, then I logged off and got a latte across the street, extra cream. No bitterness this time. When I returned, the office was hushed. Eric passed my desk, didn't look up. Amber avoided eye contact. Her blazer was wrinkled. I wrote, Thursday, April 27th. They flinched. That means they feel it now. Later, that evening, I met an old colleague Eliza for wine. She'd left 6 months ago, quietly, no reason given, over a glass of Pinot Noir. She smiled. You look different. I feel loaded. She laughed. Still journaling? Now it's called evidence. She leaned in, voice low. Word is, they're prepping for a potential lawsuit. HR's nervous. I nodded, sipping slowly. Good. Let them sweat. You planning to go nuclear? Not yet, I said. I'm still letting the match dry. That night, I stood in front of my mirror. Same blazer, new heels. I took off my earrings, one by one, and whispered, You called me emotional. But all I did was calculate. The day it all began unraveling. The sky was gray, not dramatic thunderstorm gray, no, just quiet, muted, like the air was waiting. I wore white, a tailored blazer, pale ivory, crisp lines.no statement necklace.no. Red lips, just clarity. Amber clocked it first. You look serious today. You remember this outfit, I replied, and walked past. At 9 o'clock a.m. sharp, the company gathered for the quarterly town hall, all hands Zoom, hybrid layout, the stage and conference room. Eric stood at the front, Amber next to him, hair curled tight, smile tighter. It's been a strong quarter, he opened. Our leadership has driven innovation, teamwork, and a culture of accountability. I smiled, quietly, because I knew what was coming, because I had sent the deck already. To the board. To compliance. To 3 journalists, and to myself. Subject line, regarding culture, credit, and the cost of silence. At 9:13 a.m., Eric presented the Q1 report. It was identical to the one I built, identical to the one Amber claimed, but this time, my watermark was in the bottom right corner, invisible to the naked eye, but not to the embedded metadata I buried. Under cell B45, time-stamped, authored, cryptographically sealed. This chart, Eric said, shows our cost reduction efforts led by Amber. He froze. The screen flickered. Then a notification popped up in the corner. This file was created by Maya Arif, edited last by Eric Holbrook. Gasps, murmurs, a few dropped jaws. I didn't speak. I didn't have to. Amber leaned in, whispering. Eric turned pale. Then the call chat lit up. Wait, Maya built this? Is that proof? Why isn't she on stage? A voice from the back, Susan from legal. Eric, can we pause here? 10 minutes later, I was called into the boardroom. Not asked, summoned. I entered slowly, clicked my heels like punctuation marks. Everyone turned, except Eric. He couldn't look at me. Amber bit her lip so hard I thought she'd bleed. Maya, said Charles, the COO. Can you clarify the ownership of this file? I slid the red binder onto the table. Hardcover, worn edges, a beautiful war journal. You'll find a full audit trail, I said, with timestamps, metadata, email threads, Slack messages, and screenshots. The digital copy is already in your inbox. Page 34 is where the pattern of intellectual credit theft begins. No one breathed. Amber, I continued, eyes locked, voice silk, was included on each document only post-finalization. Eric's edits begin only after the forecast is complete. Charles opened the binder. He blinked at the level of detail. You were keeping logs? Of course, I said. You called it emotional instability. I called it insurance. Amber stood up suddenly. This is a personal attack. No, I said. This is a forensic report. Eric tried to salvage it. Look, let's not escalate. No need, I interrupted. Escalation already occurred when my salary was docked for imagined instability while your HR partner was plagiarizing my work and gaslighting me in performance reviews. Amber's mouth dropped open. Eric's hands trembled slightly. Charles was silent. Susan from legal? She smiled. Then came the final stroke. Also, I said calmly, I've retained counsel. This meeting is being noted as part of a protected whistleblower documentation process, and I've filed a pre-litigation complaint with the EOC regarding retaliation, gendered bias, and wrongful wage suppression. Silence. I'll be seeking damages equal to 2 years' compensation for both positions, and a public correction of authorship on all Q1 assets. Amber spoke again, barely audible. She can't do this. I leaned forward, just enough for her to smell the peppermint in my breath. You docked my pay, I whispered. Now I'm docking your legacy. At noon, Eric stepped down voluntarily. Amber was placed on leave pending investigation. The internal email used the word restructuring, but everyone knew. At 1:17 p.m., I walked to the elevator. Same chrome doors, same distorted reflection, but this time, I saw someone solid, unmoving. As I waited, a junior analyst passed me. Maya. That was savage, she whispered. No, I said. That was evidence. Back at my desk, I closed the red binder for the final time. I placed it gently into a box. Next to it, my old coffee cup, cracked empty. I smiled. It was over, or almost. One scene remained. My resignation email was just 4 lines long. Subject, my exit. I no longer wish to be a part of a culture that punishes precision and rewards politics. My counsel will follow up regarding the pending suit. Thank you for teaching me what silence can do. Regards, Maya Arifi. Scheduled it for Monday, 9 o'clock a.m. sharp, the same time Eric used to schedule our team syncs that only included Amber. It sent automatically, while I sipped a cappuccino by the lake, wearing white. 2 weeks passed. The firm's legal team caved. Settlement offered. Full back pay, official co-authorship credit, and a free exit, and a discreet transfer of double the severance. They wanted me quiet. I gave them polished silence priced accordingly. My lawyer said, they've never folded this fast. I replied, they've never been documented this thoroughly. News spreads in small waves. Quiet whispers at coffee machines. Slack messages with no replies. Half-finished sentences. Did you hear what happened with? I think she had everything. Emails, even timestamps. My inbox turned into a confession booth. Wish I had done what you did. They did the same to me. I froze. You made it out. That's enough for the rest of us to breathe. But I didn't reply, because I wasn't doing this for recognition. I was doing this for the Maya who stayed late, undocumented, and unseen. The Maya who ate alone, listened more than she spoke, and still got called unstable. I started journaling again. Not evidence, not war maps, just healing. My first entry read, "You're not too much. You were just surrounded by people too small." Then came the final image. I stood at the building's exit, cardboard box in hand. Inside, the red binder, the cracked mug, and my old ID badge. As I walked toward the glass doors, the receptionist Jamie waved. "Leaving for lunch?" Something like that. I smiled. Then I turned to the mirror by the elevator. I paused. This was the last time it would reflect her, the woman they undermined, the woman they mislabeled. So I raised my coffee cup, a new one, ceramic, black, no cracks, and whispered to my reflection. They said I was too emotional, but emotion made me precise, precision made me unstoppable. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in, box in hand, head high, and just before the doors closed, I saw Amber arrive, late, alone, and no longer wearing red. I didn't just walk away with their paychecks. I walked away with their version of the truth rewritten.